ESPN, then Taylor, and soccer takes over. Let's start in the NBA. Rarely do you have an owner of an ultra-successful franchise publicly admonish his team. But there he was, Celtics co-owner Wyc Grousbeck, yesterday saying this had been the worst February, Mike, he's ever had since buying the team 17 years ago.
That's further proof that everything is relative, because on 2 occasions over the last 17 years, the Celtics won less than 30 games. But judgment is also based on expectations, and these Celtics were supposed to be better, much better than just the 5th best team in the East at this point in the season. Boston hosting the Rockets Sunday afternoon. Of course, the Celtics snapped a 4-game skid Friday night with the win over the Wizards, just 3-6 in their last 9 games, following that 10-1 stretch. So a great January, a bad February. What will March bring them? Well, it brought the Rockets to town, and Chris Paul sets up Eric Gordon across the way, knocks out the 3 there. And then later, it's your boy, James Harden, step back, give it to him. Rockets double-digit lead over the Celtics at the Garden. And then less than 4 minutes to play in the half, Harden driving all the way to the rack, give it to him. And then guess what? Paul finds Eric Gordon again, that 3 even deeper. Gordon had 20 points in the first half. Celtics been having a lot of issues with chemistry, but maybe it's really showing out on the defensive end. Look how many points they're giving up here to the Rockets. They're up 25. Right now it's 79-56. We will update you continually throughout SportsCenter.
Mike, this is actually a huge game for the Hornets, which is something you don't often hear on SportsCenter. Dame Lillard and the Blazers are playing great. Mike will show you the standings here in a second. Kemba and company, see if the Hive was alive. Miles Bridges finishing. Remember, this is a Hornets team that right now, believe it or not, is 1/1000th of a point out of the last spot, which is currently occupied by the Orlando Magic. They keep coming up with dunks like that and kids' reactions like that, they'll be fine. But Rodney Hood, who couldn't quite find a place in Cleveland or in Utah, this has been a great addition. And Mike and I were just talking before we started today. You got Cantor, you got this kid joining the team. This is a very good Blazers team that not a lot of people are talking about. There's a lot of oxygen being spewed in the West, but barely any on Portland as Hood continues his outstanding performance today there from downtown. You got to admit, this is a Blazers team you're going to have to watch out for. Even Kemba couldn't help but smile on that. So he's got 3 consecutive baskets, a little wild floater in the lane. Let's make it 4. Ensuing possession. Hood using the Cantor pick. So those are the 2 new additions together. 5 consecutive field goals to start the 4th. But despite all that, the Blazers are up just a point. Hood draws him in. Nurkic got it, and the foul. 26-15 for the big guy. Hood getting his teammates involved and scoring. And then, for good measure from downtown, Hood had 21 in the 4th. The most points he scored in any quarter in his career. Season high 27. Blazers win. Lillard had 23. Big road spot for the Portland Trail Blazers.
Well, Doc Rivers and the Clippers firmly in that Western Conference playoff position. 3-game lead over the Kings for the 8th seed. 18 games remaining. But in this game against the Knicks, Landry Shamet was out to do some things. Knocks it down there. Wide open here. You got to knock that one down, right, if you're a shooter. And he does. Clippers with a double-digit lead early in this game. You want more Shamet? He got something for you. Somebody find him, because he is lighting up the Knicks. Looking at the defense like not a challenge. Who up next? You up next. You can't stop him. Game too hot. Ice don't matter because it's in his veins. He had 6 threes in the first quarter. Clippers blowing out the Knicks. Shamet's got 21 points as it stands right now. Well, speaking of standing, with that win that Zubin just showed you, Portland improves to 5-1 on their season-long 7-game road trip. And they also moved ahead of Oklahoma City for 3rd in the crowded positioning atop the Western Conference. And you see the Clippers there, as I mentioned, a firm hold on the final playoff spot. Look, they're also in position maybe catch the Spurs or even the Jazz climb up before we get to the playoffs again. 18 games still remaining here on the season.
Rolling in Boston, up 23 at the half. So let's start right there, Chauncey. What is this Rockets team doing today to the Celtics?
Well, I just think there's a certain pride that they're playing with defensively. You know, they really are. I mean, when you have an isolation situation, like look at James right here, knowing I have to take pride in this matchup. And if I get beat, I'll have some help somewhere down the line, but they're communicating. They're taking pride, the effort. You look at Eric Gordon right here. This is a tough matchup. This is Kyrie. Nobody can guard him. But guess what? I got help.
Apparently.
And those are some of the best hands the league has ever seen in Chris Paul. So I'm just liking what they've done on the defensive end at this point.
And just full disclosure, he's not happy back behind the
what
scenes.
they've done on defense, but I don't like what the Celtics have done offensively. Since All-Star break, they're last in offensive efficiency, and they just take bad shots. They too many empty possessions, too many one-on-one opportunities, and that's not a recipe for success if you're trying to build to a winning championship. Look at these empty possessions they have, and if you're taking bad shots, you don't get to the free throw line. So, this team is bad at both right now.
And as it relates to the Houston Rockets, they're doing just the opposite, Mr. Paul Pierce, of your Boston Celtics. Giving up good shots to get great shots. And that's how you have a big-time lead on the road.
Yeah, you do. Part of that is because of one Eric Gordon. This is just one of his 5
He's a shooter, guys. Can somebody get to him?
Nah.
Don't have to.
Get it. The wide open 3, up by 6.
This is proven to be a very good pickup. This dude is knocking that 3 ball down.
Well, this one's ugly, and it got ugly pretty fast. Look at that score at half. 82 points on the board. The other team in L.A. also not having a good night. Last night, they lost to the worst team in the West in Phoenix. Lakers have now lost 17 of their last 26 and are further and further away from that 8th spot.
And this is why I say shut down LeBron.
You have said that.
For one, the Lakers, this is a lost season. LeBron is 15th all-time in NBA history in minutes. First in playoff minutes. He's 7th all-time in regular seasons and postseason minutes combined. 239 playoff games, was 4th most in NBA history all time. If you want to preserve LeBron for the next 3 years and get all you want out of him, it's time
No,
to
sir.
him
You don't need
down.
to preserve LeBron James. He's not sitting down, Paul.
Now.
This dude is a competitor, and I disagree. This has not been a lost season. There's some positives to take away from it. We sat up here on this desk early in the season saying, this is an 82-game tryout to see who's going to make the varsity squad next year. There's been some gems out there. So it hasn't all been lost.
They've been that much of a gems. Nobody... New Orleans did not accept that trade.
You gotta lead
so-called gym.
You gotta lead from the front. If you sit him down, that's an admission. That's almost like quitting on the year.
Sit him down.
That's like punting.
Or put him on minutes.
That don't even make sense.
He must have sat down on the Celtics.
You got to preserve LeBron for the next 3 years.
40 points.
It only makes sense.
But we got to get away from this attitude. If you're not about to win a championship, then you should play.
LeBron is all
I
about
do like that attitude.
Sit down, Zion. Sit down, LeBron. No, he getting $35 million to play basketball, and we need to see it.
MVP, but how do you feel about a repeat performance? Rachel Nichols got to ask him about it in our Straight Talk soundbite.
You have said that you want the MVP again this season. Make your case to me. Why do you deserve it?
What do you mean? Just look at all what we've had to go through, and you put, any other guy in this situation that I've been in, and they probably wouldn't be here. We're in the same situation, and so we got a chance to get to that, top 3 seed in the West, which we all know how difficult that is. But I mean, that conversation of being in the MVP is something that's my goal every year, and it's been the goal since the last, 5 years.
Fair enough. Not everyone will admit that. He wants another MVP. Who's your choice right now?
James Harden, you don't have to tell everybody what you're doing. We're watching it. I got the beard.
Okay.
While I agree with everything Hart is saying, I have to go with Giannis for the simple fact no one had Milwaukee being at the top of not only the East but the league at this point in the season.
I agree. I know where you're going, but it's not necessarily a team award, though you got to factor winning in. And I like to think about the Heisman Trophy. For me, Harden has had more wow moments. Okay, like 50-point games with 10 assists, 40-point games, the 30-point streaks. So I think he's had to do something that made it a little more outstanding. But they're 1A and 1B.
He has the zhuzh.
But we based this award over the years based on team performance and individual performance, and they go hand in hand. Based on the criteria, best team, best player. I'm just saying.
Well, I want to stick with the Rockets for a second because obviously CP3 and Capella have both returned, and they have improved. How exactly, Chauncey?
In so many ways, Beads, but we were very critical of this team early on. I mean, really, they were really underachieving. They started to pick it up. We'll go to the tape right here for the court vision, but they've made a 100-degree turn in terms of the spirit of the team. And here's how. Rockets ball movement. Now, look at James. He advances the ball right here, but a lot of times he gets that outlet and nobody else touches the ball. Well, there's been a shift now. Look how many passes they make. Chris Paul gets into the middle of the paint where he can obviously knock down that shot, but swing. And now you get it to James when he can ISO real quick when the defense can't come and double team. They move in the basketball. That's 7 passes on one play. We haven't seen them do that. Now you look at multiple efforts defensively. You look at the switch right there. Now you look at Eric Gordon coming over to help right there. Nice job by Manimal taking away that baseline pass. PJ helps him. James helps him. And now Chris does a good job of contesting without fouling, and they collect a rebound. That's 7 efforts. And the Beard, the most interesting offensive player in the world. He gets in his bag right here. Now, if all else fails, just give the Beard the ball. And he can go get you 60 on any given night. So the spirit of this team has changed with them just being not only cohesive, but sharing the basketball and being unselfish on both ends of the floor.
Okay.
Sharing basketball. That's why James got the most dribbles in the league history.
Yeah, and you've seen 7 passes right there.
He did show you that.
That's a team high.
Wait,
No, that's what they've been doing lately.
If they're going to threaten the league, if they're going to really pose a threat to this Golden State Warriors team and then moving on after that, would you rather see a team that has Harden scoring 40, 50, even 60 points, as you said, or the more balanced option?
40 points plus. This is when they're at their best. This is what they've been doing all year. This is what the team system is. This is what they're accustomed to. The team is 17-6 when he scores 40 plus. Do you know what they are when he scores under 40? The team is only 18-17. So right there it tells you they're a better team when he's out there getting buckets.
These finals MVPs know this as well as anyone. What you're able to do in the regular season, what you're able to do in the postseason are way different. And so you can get away with that ISO ball, leading the league in dribbles, and all of that stuff. But in the playoffs, teams are going to lock in. It's the team dynamic. You got to swing the ball back and forth like Chauncey just broke down. Chris Paul has to be a factor. When they were at their best last year, like both of these guys were flirting with 10 assists on a nightly basis. The Manimal has really helped them out a lot, Kenneth Faried. But I think James Harden has to rely on the guys around him to make the game a lot easier.
I just don't see how you change your style of play once the playoffs start, though. This is how they play.
Well, I want to throw the standings up there as a reminder. The Rockets right now, a game out of third, along with Utah, hottest team in the conference over the last 10 games, including 4 straight wins. And they, just like their opponent today, 14-1 odds to win it all, 4th best in the NBA. Jalen, Denver's had a great season, a little sluggish lately. You've got OKC, who's lost 4 in a row. Paul George, a little dinged up. Right now, how would you rank this Rockets squad?
I think the Rockets and OKC are the 2 teams I give the best chance to upend the Golden State Warriors or take them to a long series because they both have 2 savvy veterans that they can rely on. That each team has an MVP, and then obviously you have Chris Paul and Paul George now playing at an MVP level. So I trust them in the playoffs. For the Nuggets, to me, it's going to be a lot to do with home court advantage and matchups if they're able to possibly make it to the conference finals.
Mr. Defense, you're the Celtics today on defense. What do you take away, or what do you try to take away from the game?
Well, you have to show James Harden some different coverages. First of all, you have to trap him sometimes. You have to sometimes just run a guy at him. He ISO. Sometimes, a lot of times when he gets trapped in a pick and roll, he just won't call a pick and roll. So he'll ISO. And if that happens, you have to fire a guy at him, which means just run a guy at him, no matter where that guy's coming from, just to make him think something different. Because as Paul said, when he gets 40, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble.
And he can get 40 on any given night.
Not let him get 40. Seems simple. SportsCenter tonight on ESPN after LAFC Sporting Kansas City with Steve Levy and John Anderson. Breaking down the NCAA field from top to bubble. Moments from soccer's opening weekend, MLS. And Antonio Brown reveals how his relationship with the Steelers soured. Oh, I think we know. SportsCenter, 10:30 Eastern on ESPN and the app. Coming up, Kyrie Irving is the most clutch player in the league. But is it more style than skill? Scoop Jackson gets all caffeinated. Talks about Kyrie's trend. He breaks it down. Chris Paul passing Karl Malone for 10th on the all-time steals list on Thursday. Next on the list, Spurs legend Alvin Robertson.
He had a mean dice game.